Now we're looking at the data through a Spotfire visualization. With this Spotfire visualization, we can actually look at the data that we had connected to whenever we were looking at data virtualization. And what I want to do is I want to look at this data related to churn, or the people who have renewed their service with us, or the people who have canceled their service. And what I want to do is I want to particularly drill down into this group that canceled, because what I want to do is I want to look at the differing patterns that exist among both people in different regions, but also how they behave in regards to this trial. And this is one of the great features of Spotfire and why we do really good in the visual analytics segments of analyst reviews, because we have this very dynamic ability to drill down into individual components and look at and really touch and feel the data and the analysis that we do. But what I want to do is I want to move beyond this ability to visually analyze our data, and I want to go into advanced analytics and predictive analytics. And for that, most people rely upon some sort of code, whether or not that's R, Python, or other types of code to create advanced predictive models. But what I want to do is I want to create an ensemble of predictive models, whether or not that's recursive partitioning algorithms or machine learning algorithms or even neural networks. And I want to do that in a low code or no code environment. And for that, I'm going to rely upon TIBCO data science. And one aspect of TIBCO data science that we have is Statistica, which is the ability to perform in-memory analysis. And with TIBCO data science, using Statistica, I have the capability to look at the models that I have stored previously. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the different options for models that we have. You'll see that I've actually developed some models already that we're going to look at. I've deployed the models, and then I've also created a model for recalibration or refinement of that model. But one aspect about Statistica and TIBCO data science is that we have a great governance tool for models and code, and a great backbone for a collaborative environment across an enterprise. So now if we wanted to look at one of the models that we've created, we can see all the previous versions of this model. We can now go in and compare versions and electronically sign versions and perform all the necessary governance and control around predictive analytics and modeling that is required within a first-class enterprise whenever we're dealing with analytics. But what I want to do is I want to show how we can create those predictive models that exist within a low-code or no-code environment. So when I click on Edit Workspace, what that's going to do is it's actually going to bring up this visual canvas that we can now see the predictive models that I've created that are going to inform this dashboard that is looking at the predictive models around churn. And I clicked one button, which was Run All, and you're going to see that it's running each and every node in this analytic workspace. First of all, we're running very fast. We are multi-threaded, capable of parallel processing. And within under a minute, we are creating models for recursive partitioning algorithms, including CART and SHADE. We're running machine learning algorithms, included boosted trees and random forests, and we're even running 20 neural network models, retaining the top 5. And we're going to let all 5 models work together in an ensemble. We're going to store testing data, and that testing data is then going to inform us which model is the best. And if I look at this model comparison node, we'll get a very quick overview of how these models perform on our data. We can look at our misclassification error rate, and we can choose that model with the lowest misclassification error rate as our champion model. We also offer a variety of other statistics, chi-square statistic and g-square statistic, that you can look at to assess model performance as well. And one of the unique features of this workspace is that we can take the best model, and this model is the neural networks model. So what we can do is we can actually take and automatically publish that neural networks model to our platform for streaming analytics, such as Streambase or Artifact Management Server. And this will complete that cycle from visual analytics to advanced analytics to streaming analytics. But let's go back to that dashboard. How can we focus on the handoff to the business leader and the business professional to make decisions about these analytics? What we can do is we can make this workspace available as a data function so that we can dynamically look at this model quality table so that we can investigate which model performs the best. But we can also look at feature selection to see what predictors are the most important as well. And the way that we do that is we use the free TIBCO statistic extension for Spotfire that's available in eDelivery, and we can then reach through the DXP to the governed and managed models that exist on TIBCO Statistica server. That way we can now take and use these workspaces as data functions within this DXP. And you can see that we are looking at a visually dynamic way to look at that table we were looking at in the workspace, but in a way that a business leader or a business professional can assess the model quality. But we can also look at an overall level, those predictors that are the most important in churn. Now let's say that we want to focus on that handoff to the citizen data scientist. We want to select one of these models, and let's say a model that's easily interpretable, like classification and regression trees. And what we want to do is we want to recalibrate this model so that we can investigate the impact of removing variables or adding variables or even changing a dependent variable if we want. And Dave, who's mentioned that he's a recovering data scientist, has asked me, Danny, I just want a big easy button. That's all I want. And with the integration between TIBCO products, specifically TIBCO Data Science and Spotfire, we can build those big easy buttons now. All we can do is click on Recalibrate Model, and that's going to pass the base model over to the next page in this visualization. You'll see that I have the predictor importance. I also have the data included in a scatter plot. I have those original quality metrics. But now what I can do is I can select a subset of the data. I can now select a different set of variables, and then I can say estimate the refined model. And what it's going to do is it's going to take the data and selected variables from this page of the visualization. It's going to pass it back through to the underlying Statistica workspace that's functioning as a data function. It is now going to give me the redefined predictor importance based upon the new model, as well as the updated quality metrics. Now we'll see in this instance that we removed variables and we performed the analysis on a subset of the data, and we now have a poor performing model. But you'll see the purpose behind this is that we can now take what has been created by a data scientist and hand off that analysis to a citizen data scientist so that they can work with that predictive model to choose different sets of data, choose different variables, or even choose different parameters for that algorithm in order to bring their level of expertise to the analysis that we've performed. So this is a way that we can focus on the handoffs between a citizen data scientist and a data scientist. But what about deployment? How do we take that next step to analysis? Some of the nodes that we have in TIBCO Data Science allow us to manage a wide variety of models. Whenever we looked at the server earlier, you'll see that I had a variety of different PMML, or predictive modeling markup language, models already managed on the server. And you'll see, because I know, and because I was able to investigate this through the Spotfire visualization, that there are different patterns of churn by region, different patterns of churn based upon what type of trial or subscription that they're invested in, and combinations thereof that I wanted specific models for each segment of the population. And you'll see that I have a deployment workspace. I'm able to manage all of those models utilizing one individual node. This is one of the most powerful nodes that we do have in TIBCO Data Science, in that we can now conditionally score all data utilizing managed models from one centralized repository. You'll see that I've actually built in if statements that if data exists within a certain region, to apply that managed model to it and take the prediction from that managed model and push it to an array. Then after I score all the data, I take the max of that array and bring back the maximum prediction. So in essence, I am taking and scoring only the specific data to which a model belongs with that specific model, and I'm now taking the maximum prediction of all of those models, generating a table which I can now pass back through to Spotfire as part of the integration between TIBCO Statistica and TIBCO Spotfire. You'll see when I go back to the visualization, I can again go to the TIBCO Statistica extension for Spotfire. You'll see I have the churn model deployment workspace managed as a data function. And when I go to the option for model deployment, you'll see that I'm now able to monitor the performance of those models across the different segments for which I built specific models. You'll also see that I'm now able to monitor churn across profiles, as well as churn by locale, and even by type and locale.